Hi, Alireza. I'm very, very happy to have you here. We know each other, I think, now for a couple of years. We have worked at the same company, and I'm very happy that our paths crossed again in this blockchain space. And I'm happy to talk to you today about being a blockchain lawyer.
Yeah, hi Maria. Thank you for having me on this interview. I'm very excited. As I understand, I'm the first guy who's talking to you on this on your series on interviews. So far, you
Yeah.
only had successful ladies in the blockchain sphere. So therefore, I'm very happy to be the first guy talking to you, and I'm very happy that not just that our ways have crossed again, our paths have crossed again, but also that you're doing these interesting interviews now, and that I can share with you and with your listeners my experience.
So let's start, Alireza. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us who you are.
Yes, I'm Alireza. I'm based in Germany, Frankfurt. I'm a lawyer. I'm a partner of a boutique law firm called Annerton, and I'm doing legal and regulatory advice in relation to businesses which are either using the DLT/blockchain technology or which are intending to do something with blockchain or DLT.
Okay, perfect. And what sparked your interest to get into the blockchain space?
Yeah, that's a very good point because I'm always telling this story to anyone to whom I'm talking. I actually started very early looking into blockchain and Bitcoin mainly in 2014. At that time, I was with you, Maria, at PwC, and we are doing a project with the European Commission. It was called at that time Banking Without a Bank, which then turned into FinTech, actually. And I was asked to look into some innovative products, which is banking, but without a bank. So I came up with Bitcoin and I demonstrated Bitcoin to the other guys at PwC. And I got quite friendly, not accepted with my suggestion because at that time in Germany, you only had two dealers which were doing business or accepting Bitcoin as means of payment. So it was nothing where I, as a lawyer, could do some proper advice or do some work with that. Coming back to your question, I started 2014 because I wanted to do something, demonstrate something new in the banking industry, looking into blockchain and trying to do something from a legal perspective to do some advice, some counseling, some work with that.
Okay, and I guess in the beginning, it was, as you said, hard to find clients or hard to find any use cases. And at the same time, I guess at such big organization as PwC, maybe the people were not that open for this topic.
Interesting for the listeners to know that at 2014, beginning of 2014, the German regulator BaFin was doing some announcement and some warnings against Bitcoin. At the same time, the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, was doing the same. So actually there was some ground, some ground for me to look into that because this is actually my job, regulation. But as you say, I mean, the economy was not there. So there were only two shops or two dealers in Germany which were dealing with that. I was really hardly looking for a crypto exchange in Germany because I knew about crypto exchanges in the US, but there was nothing really in Germany which I could take as a client. And of course, the big company, PwC, when you do something or when you were doing something at that time with Bitcoin, people still know that, and still yet it is the same. There are some concerns about money laundering and energy consumption, etc., etc. So all of that you have to multiply it by 10 to put it as a perspective from the risk and legal department of such a big company, where I had to go and demonstrate what I want to do. And of course, they would say, let's do a risk-based approach. What is our revenue we can do with that business, and what are the risks? And if you put both like next to each other, you quickly realize, okay, it's not really there for a big company.
Yeah. So let's talk about your job. What is your job as a blockchain lawyer?
So I can maybe describe it to you the best way to just telling you about a project which I was advising on and helping
Perfect.
with. So I was in a lucky position to be working with timeless investments. Timeless investments is a startup founded by three gentlemen in Berlin, which was a startup which first looked into old-timer and cars and doing something with collectibles, and then realized, okay, you can take these collectibles like old-timers or cars and offer it to the retail market by fractionalizing it, so putting it in shares. And you could do that by putting it on a blockchain, so have a token, a crypto asset, which is representing your share in a collectible. And the very interesting part, they did all of that on a smartphone, on a device, and not just taking old timers, but all kind of collectibles which are interesting for the retail market, such as sneakers, watches, but also cameras and other stuff. And so what I was doing in that project, I got approached very, very early when the startup was just putting their ideas together and said, this is our goal, help us to get there. And what I did was, okay, of course, lawyers can draft contracts and draft agreements, but this was not important. When it comes to crypto and crypto assets, it is important to have the regulators of the respective country also covered and being in compliance with regulation. So what I did with them, I brought their business case and represented it to the German regulator, which is BaFin, and asked BaFin, or I demonstrated BaFin how I believe this product should be regulated or not regulated. So this took quite some time because it was a very new, innovative product, putting it together on the blockchain, and then BaFin had to understand how and why it could be regulated. So I helped them to do that. And so I did a communication with the regulator, and at the same time helping them to put together the documentation, the terms and conditions, the framework agreement, to put all the agreements they need with their future users, and all of that in a compliant manner. And also help them to negotiate with their partners like payment service providers, and later on also some regulated entities with whom they have to work together. And this was actually my work for the last, I would say, 14 months. It took quite some time, but this was a very successful project where I was helping and supporting them from a regulatory legal perspective.
Great, thank you for this use case. I think it gives a very clear overview of what your work is. And how long does a process like this take in general? If I want to get a license for a crypto business here in Germany, how long would it take? Let's take, for example, the crypto custody license. This has been very popular in the past year, and it's very new to Germany that now we have a crypto custody license. Can you maybe tell us, like, what's the process there? How long would it take? And maybe give a little bit of overview of the market right now, because I'm not sure how many companies actually have gotten this crypto license.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, the crypto custody license is actually the first license for crypto custody service provider, which a country, a jurisdiction globally was introducing. So Germany was the first country which was introducing this license for a crypto custody service provider. And actually it is a license which would be qualified as a financial service provider license or financial institution license. So what I'm telling you now would apply one-to-one if you would apply for a different financial services provider license. So you would actually need to put together your application, which is a big set of documentation, some formal documentation such as CVs, such as criminal records, such as forms which you need to fill out, which BaFin gives you to fill out. Plus, you would need to have
the CVs of the CEOs, right?
For instance, of the CEOs, of the beneficial owners of the company which is applying for the license, for the, let's say, for the key personnel, such as the anti-money laundering officer, such as maybe the IT security officer. So you would need to have your personnel fit and proper. That's how it's called. So for that purpose, you would at least have to show them the CVs of these candidates, but also the criminal records and other stuff. So there's a bunch of documentation. Plus, what is very important, what is the key of the whole application, is the regulatory business plan. So there's a business plan where you demonstrate your business, what you want to do, how you want to make with that business money. So you have to put their planned figures for at least 3 years until you have to break even. Plus, you have to show how you manage risks, such as legal risks, compliance risk, anti-money laundering risk, etc., etc., etc. and you have attached to this regulatory business plan your policies, the policies you use, like compliance policy, AML policy, etc., etc., etc. So all of that, of course, a lawyer can draft and a lawyer can do. And besides for the planned figures, this is an accountant has to do usually. But everything else, a person like me or other regulatory lawyers do. The putting together of this documentation takes at least 3 months, sometimes even 6 months. And then you would file the complete set of documentation with the regulator, BaFin, and the second regulator, Bundesbank. And they would look into that. And usually they have up to 12 months, but they do not need that long. Normally, after a couple of months, I come back with some questions, follow-up questions. And if you're doing your work really good, once you file the complete set of documentation, after maximum 3 months, you should get your license. And this is how it takes. So let's say 6 months for the preparation, 3 till 6 months feedback from BaFin, the regulator. And then normally within 1 year, you should have your license. The number of crypto custody service providers, we have, in the beginning, there was around 24 people who showed their interest to apply, because we have some special rule in Germany, which said if you show your interest to apply to the German regulator in the beginning of 2020 till November 2020, then you would be treated from the German regulator as you would have the license. So there were at least 24 who did that. Out of these 24, there are 12 left who really like put
started
in
the process.
And this, I think around this 12 are still there. One of them got feedback from BaFin, Coinbase got the license. The second one, is it Finor, is it Upwest? So the second one also got feedback. So they're now slowly coming. We will have in the end maximum 12 regulated crypto custody service providers. I believe not all the 12 will make it. I believe rather something like 6 or 7 we will have in the end. And this is a good number, because we have in Germany, I would say, not much more banks which do crypto business, crypto trading business, and crypto business. So let's count of 6 in the end of this year, beginning of next year. Yeah.
And now let me go back to the career part. If I were a lawyer or I'm a law student, what advice would you give me if I want to get into blockchain? What should I do?
Yeah. So some of your listeners would now probably expect I'm telling them, yo, go and study also IT or do something with IT and coding, which is nonsense. You do not need that. To become a good lawyer in a blockchain industry, you do not need to code. You do not need to have knowledge of IT. For that, you take someone who's specialized in that. What is much more important is to understand what is going on in the blockchain industry. Use all kind of sources to look into that, not just legal books and legal stuff, but also, for instance, I'm watching YouTube. I'm checking out YouTube, how influencers talk about how to use FTX as the exchange, how to do the lightning payment, how to do this and that. This is very interesting, because I'm also learning from that, and then try to learn from that and try to think as a lawyer, what could be from a legal perspective, the issues they have, and how could you as a lawyer help? So this is, I think, something any lawyer or any becoming lawyer can do. Be very open-minded in the sources you study or you read or you listen to, and do not restrict yourself to trying to be more looking into legal and really difficult stuff. Try the small things and easy stuff which you can learn fast, and then go to, in the end, maybe to the more difficult things.
Absolutely. And Alireza, can you tell us some good sources of information where you inform yourself about current blockchain topics?
So if it's like really legal related, we ourselves from Annerton, we have our blog, which is called Paytech Law, and we have also posts. We have like written stuff, so blogs, but plus we have podcasts, so which is Paytech Talk. You can check that out. Payment and banking is also doing interesting stuff, so check out payment and banking.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alireza, for this interview and for all the information you gave us.
Sure. Thank you for having me on this interview. I'm very much looking forward to see more of you, Maria, and to hear more of also your listeners. So if someone wants to reach out, just go on LinkedIn and connect with me, and yeah, send me your questions or just connect with me.
Thank you so much.